My fellow Africans, welcome to another moment, and it is an Africans Arise moment. I believe God has a huge agenda with Africa to take the gospel to the rest of the world. God desires, God values Africans, and He wants to use us to be a blessing, to make a difference out there in the world with the gospel of Christ. Now, in the previous video, we talked about God's hand in migration. And in that video, I suggested two things we can start with in order for us to be involved, even as people come and even as we are going. We talked about prayer and we talked about friendship. Now today, I would like to mention a third very important tool that we can use as we engage people from different nationalities so that we can be able to be effective communicators of the gospel of Christ. And this tool is learning the language of the people that we desire to share the gospel with. Are you going as a student? Are you going as a worker? Are you welcoming people? Are you having neighbors from other nations? I think one of the best ways we can be able to really connect with them is learning their mother tongue. Because nothing touches people much than when we can speak their language. Speaking their heart language is very important because of enabling us to be able to share the gospel. Now, it is very important for us to understand that when you're going and starting to learn the language of a people, they're not looking for perfection. They usually appreciate that you're trying, that effort. Even as you struggle with words and pronunciations, they really appreciate that you want to be one like them, that you want to walk in their shoes and try to understand their culture even through learning the language. Now, what are some steps that we can use, some ways we can use to learn a language? Start simple. Start with knowing the greetings. How do they greet one another? How do you respond? Maybe they have morning and afternoon and night greetings. Learn those ones. And then it is good to get a local person to be able to teach you. That way you learn very fast. A man or a person of peace. Someone in the community who you can be able to befriend and they can teach you the language. Also, it is very good for you to ask questions. Observe, ask questions, and you can start with just simple things. You can start with different types of fruits. Ask them what name do you give this fruit, you know? How do you call the morning, things that you can see? What name do you give to a chair, you know, or the door, or a house, or clothes, things that you interact daily with? Ask them those questions, get to know the words, internalize them, be able to ask and be able to role play with the person who is helping you with the language. It will be very important for you to do that. Remember, as I've said, one way of learning the culture of people is being able to learn their language and to communicate it. Now, language is very important. Learning the mother tongue of people is very important because there are people groups in this world who will never truly understand the gospel until it is brought in their mother tongue, in their heart language. All right? So let us be good students of language. The world is becoming dynamic. Yes, people are using languages like English globally and French, but for us to be able to reach those people in the interior, those people uh, who are there and they have not heard the gospel, for it to be meaningful to them, we must share it in the language that they know in the language of the heart for them. So it is very important. And I would like to share with us the importance of learning language as people who want to share the gospel wherever we are. One, it demonstrates love. You care enough to have a conversation or hear from your host people. It shows that you care for them. You devote time to things which are important. Secondly, learning culture and learning language are connected. Why? Because culture shapes language, and language reflects the culture of people. Thirdly, we cannot share the gospel without words. In other words, we cannot be obedient to the Great Commission if we cannot make disciples, and that is through communication, words of mouth. Number 4, it allows longevity in our context. If you want to stay for a long time among a people, you have to speak their language. You have to become one with them in language. Number 5, it is the only way to know if the gospel has been accurately communicated. Without feedback, we cannot be sure of what was communicated. So when these people are able to give you feedback in their language, then you can know they have understood the gospel. 6, God does not expect perfect language, but faithful language. As I said, when you're trying to learn a language and speaking to the people, they are usually not, even God is not expecting you to be perfect, but to be faithful, you know? Sometimes, maybe you've gone to a place during a burial or a ceremony and you hear them greeting one another, and when you're given the microphone, the only thing you have learned is the language. But when you greet them, just greeting them in their language, maybe it's a one sentence of 3 words or 2, and they respond. They usually respond with a lot of joy because you have connected with them. So for us to be faithful ministers of the gospel, we have to learn language. And lastly, we can only have a limited presence among a people without communication. If you cannot communicate in their language, then you will be very limited in your presence. You cannot be able to go out freely. You cannot be able to interact with them, and so on and so forth. Now, there is a quote I would like to share with us here. It was given by William Cameron Townsend, and he said this: "The greatest missionary is the Bible in the mother tongue. It needs no fellow and is never considered a foreigner." Think about that. And may the Lord help us to be able to know, to learn language and to speak it with the people that we intend to reach for Christ. May God bless you, and may He give us grace to learn people's language and to observe. And if they have the Bible in their mother tongue, learn also to read it and to understand it in that language and to share the gospel using that Bible. May the Lord bless you. See you next time. Let us arise as Africans.